I think I didn't do anything wrong, just had a little fun at the club, but now my husband has handed me divorce papers. Honestly, everyone's blowing this out of proportion. I was just being friendly, but now my whole life is upside down, and I can't believe he actually went through with it. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The silence in our suburban townhouse was deafening as I kicked off my heels by the front door. Adrian was already home, sitting rigidly on the living room couch, still in his work clothes, despite it being nearly midnight. His phone lay face down on the coffee table, and he didn't look up when I walked in. "Hey, babe," I said, forcing brightness into my voice. "You left the club early. Did you not feel well?" "Nothing, not even a glance." I flopped down beside him, close enough that our thighs touched. "Come on, don't be like this. We were all just having fun. You know Jesse, he's always been touchy-feely. It's just his personality." Adrian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Touchy-feely?" "Yes. God, you're acting like I committed some crime." "It was playful. We were dancing, laughing. You know, the things people do at clubs." I rolled my eyes, reaching for his hand. He pulled away. The rejection stung, but I pushed forward. "Look, I get it. Maybe it looked like something it wasn't. But you know me, Adrian. You know I would never. Do I?" His voice was so quiet, I almost missed it. "What's that supposed to mean?" I crossed my arms, feeling my defensive walls rising. "Are you seriously going to sit there and accuse me of cheating because Jesse put his hands on my waist during a song? Because that's what this is about, right? You're jealous." Finally, Adrian turned to look at me. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. "Calantha, his hands weren't just on your waist." My heart skipped, but I kept my expression neutral. "I don't know what you think you saw." "I know what I saw." He picked up his phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "And apparently, so did half the club." "You're being paranoid." I laughed, but it sounded forced even to my ears. "This is exactly why I don't like going out with you anymore. You turn everything into some big drama." Adrian stood up abruptly. "I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight." "Seriously?" I followed him toward the stairs. "You're going to punish me because your insecurity is acting up. That's not fair, and you know it." He paused at the bottom step, his hand gripping the banister. "Is there anything you want to tell me, Calantha? Anything at all?" The way he asked it, so calm, so measured, sent a chill down my spine. But I wasn't about to give him the satisfaction of thinking his little guilt trip was working. "Yeah," I said, crossing my arms. "I want to tell you that you're being ridiculous, and I'm getting really tired of walking on eggshells around your jealousy issues." Adrian nodded slowly, like he'd expected that exact response. "Good night, Calantha." As he disappeared upstairs, I heard our 7-year-old daughter Isla's bedroom door creak open. "Mummy, why are you and Daddy yelling?" I forced a smile, walking over to scoop her into a hug. "We weren't yelling, sweetheart, just talking. Go back to bed, okay?" But as I tucked her in, I caught her worried expression in the dim hallway light. Kids always knew when something was wrong, even when you tried to hide it. Back downstairs, I grabbed my phone and immediately texted my sister Sabine. "Adrian is being a total psycho about tonight, acting like I committed murder or something." Her response came within minutes. "Ignore him. Men get weird when they feel threatened. He'll get over it." I felt vindicated. Sabine understood. This was just Adrian being Adrian. Controlling, paranoid, unable to handle his wife having any fun without him hovering. But as I lay alone in our king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the image of Adrian's face, the hurt in his eyes, the way he'd asked if there was anything I wanted to tell him, like he already knew the answer. I pushed the thought away. I hadn't done anything wrong. Jesse was a friend, our friend. We'd known him for 3 years, ever since he started training at the same gym as Adrian. If anything, Adrian should be grateful that Jesse was looking out for me while Adrian sulked in the corner all night. My phone buzzed with a text from Adrian's mother, Miriam. "Is everything all right, dear?" Adrian seemed upset when he called. I stared at the message, my stomach dropping. He'd called his mother. At midnight. That wasn't like him at all. Adrian barely talked to his parents about our personal business, let alone called them in the middle of the night. I typed back, "Everything's fine. Just a little misunderstanding. You know how sensitive he can be." But even as I sent it, I had the sinking feeling that this was bigger than I was making it out to be. The way Adrian had looked at his phone, the way he'd said, "Apparently, so did half the club." What exactly had he seen? And more importantly, what had everyone else seen? The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Adrian making coffee downstairs. When I entered the kitchen, he was already dressed and reading something on his tablet, barely acknowledging my presence. "I thought we could go to brunch today," I said, pouring myself a cup. "You know, that place Isla likes with the pancakes. Make it a family day." Adrian glanced up briefly. "Sure." His tone was so neutral it was almost worse than anger. At least when people were angry, you knew where you stood. This cold politeness was unsettling. "Great. I'll call Sabine, see if she wants to join us. Maybe Mum too." "Whatever you want, Calantha." By the time we got to the family restaurant, I'd managed to convince myself that everything would be fine. Sabine arrived first, giving me a supportive hug and shooting Adrian a look that clearly said, "Get over yourself." My mother Judith came next, looking concerned but trying to keep things light for Isla's sake. "So," Sabine said once we'd ordered, "how was your night out? I saw some of the pictures on Instagram. Looked like fun." I felt Adrian tense beside me. "It was great. We should do it more often, right, honey?" Adrian was cutting Isla's pancakes with surgical precision, not looking up. "Adrian's just tired," I continued, reaching over to squeeze his shoulder. "He's not much of a party person, prefers staying home with his books and documentaries." Sabine laughed. "God, you're such an old man, Adrian. Calantha needs to get out and have fun. She works hard. She deserves to blow off some steam." "Absolutely," my mother agreed, though she looked uncertain. "Marriage is about balance. Trust." That's when Jesse and his girlfriend Tasha walked in. I hadn't expected to see them, but the restaurant was popular with our social circle. Jesse spotted us immediately and headed over, Tasha trailing behind with a tight smile. "Hey guys, mind if we join you? All the other tables are taken." Before anyone could object, Jesse had pulled up a chair next to me. Tasha sat on his other side, her eyes fixed on her menu. "So, fun night last night, right, Cal?" Jesse grinned, completely oblivious to the tension. "You've still got some moves on the dance floor." I felt my cheeks warm. It was fun. Adrian left early, though, so he missed most of it. "His loss," Jesse said, and I caught the way Tasha's grip tightened on her water glass. Sabine jumped in, clearly sensing an opportunity to make her point. "That's what I was just telling them. Calantha deserves to have fun without someone watching her every move. It's called trust, right?" She directed this last part at Adrian, who finally looked up from Isla's plate. "Trust," he repeated quietly. "Exactly." I felt emboldened by my sister's support. I mean, we're all adults here. We're all friends. If you can't dance and laugh with your friends, what's the point of going out at all? Miriam, who had been quietly listening, cleared her throat. "I think there's a difference between friendly fun and other things." The table went quiet. Even Isla looked up from her pancakes, sensing the adult tension. "What other things?" I challenged, feeling my face flush. "What exactly are you implying, Miriam?" "I'm not implying anything, dear. I'm just saying that when you're married, you don't stop being a person," Sabine interrupted. "You don't become property. Calantha has every right to dance with whoever she wants." Tasha finally spoke up, her voice ice cold. "Dancing, is that what we're calling it?" The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Jesse shifted uncomfortably, suddenly very interested in his eggs Benedict. Excuse me? I stared at her, my heart racing. Nothing, Tasha said, but her eyes were blazing. Just, maybe some people should be more careful about respecting boundaries. That's all. What boundaries? Sabine demanded. They were dancing. Were they? Tasha looked directly at me now. Because from what I saw... Tasha. Jesse's voice was sharp, warning, but she ignored him. From what I saw, there was a lot more than dancing going on, and maybe if certain people cared about their families, they'd think twice before... That's enough. Adrian's voice cut through the argument like a blade. He stood up, pulling out his wallet. Isla, finish your juice, we're leaving. But Daddy, I'm not done with my pancakes. Now, Isla. My daughter looked confused and a little scared. I wanted to object, to tell Adrian he was being dramatic, but something in his tone stopped me. As he helped Isla with her jacket, Tasha leaned over and whispered in my ear, Stay away from my boyfriend, Calantha. I'm not going to warn you again. Then they were gone, leaving me staring after them in shock. Well, Sabine said, trying to lighten the mood. She's clearly insecure. I wouldn't worry about it. But my mother was frowning, studying my face. Calantha, what exactly happened last night? Nothing, I insisted. God, everyone's acting like I murdered someone. Jesse and I danced, we laughed, we had fun. Since when is that a crime? Miriam stood up, gathering her purse. Since it stops being innocent, dear. As she left, I felt the first real crack in my confidence. But Sabine was still there, still nodding supportively, still telling me that everyone else was overreacting. That had to count for something, right? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was a video file. Blurry, taken from across a crowded dance floor, but clear enough to see two figures pressed close together. Clear enough to see wandering hands and whispered words and a moment that looked nothing like innocent dancing. The message below it read, Thought you should know this is making the rounds. Might want to get ahead of it. Marcus was Adrian's work friend. If he had the video, that meant... Cal, you okay? Sabine was looking at me with concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile, slipping my phone back into my purse. I'm fine, just tired. But I wasn't fine. And as I drove home in silence, Adrian's words from the night before echoed in my head. I know what I saw, and apparently, so did half the club. How many people had this video? How many people had seen what I'd convinced myself was harmless fun? And more importantly, what was Adrian planning to do about it? Monday morning at the office felt like walking into a minefield. I'd barely settled at my desk when I noticed the whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by. The sideways glances, the way people suddenly found their computer screens fascinating when I looked their direction. By lunch, I knew why. Calantha. My coworker Jennifer approached my desk with the kind of fake concern that barely masked gossip hunger. I just wanted to check on you. I heard things have been difficult at home. I don't know what you mean, I replied, not looking up from my computer. Oh, she seemed disappointed. It's just that Marcus from the engineering department was showing around this video, and... My head snapped up. What video? Jennifer's eyes lit up. She'd been fishing, and I'd just confirmed her suspicions. Nothing serious, I'm sure. Just some footage from that club downtown. You know how these things get blown out of proportion. I felt sick. Marcus had promised to keep it quiet, but clearly that promise meant nothing. It's not what it looks like. Of course not, Jennifer agreed, but her tone suggested otherwise. I mean, we all know how these things can be taken out of context, especially when alcohol is involved. She lingered for another moment, clearly hoping I'd elaborate, but I turned back to my screen and ignored her until she finally walked away. My phone was buzzing constantly now. Group chats I'd forgotten I was part of, college friends, neighbors, even people from Isla's school. The video was everywhere. spreading like wildfire through our social network. I opened one of the group chats and immediately regretted it. Sarah. OMG, did you guys see this? Lisa. Is that Calantha Price? Michelle. With that trainer guy. Isn't she married? Sarah. Very married. I know her husband. He's super nice, Lisa. This is so messy, Michelle. I feel bad for their little girl. I started typing furiously. This is being completely blown out of proportion. We were just dancing. Some people need to get a life instead of starting rumors. The response was immediate. Sarah. Cal. I didn't know you were in this chat, Lisa. We weren't trying to start anything. Michelle. It's just, the video looks pretty intense. Me. It looks like two friends having fun. Since when is dancing a crime? Maybe if people spent less time gossiping and more time working on their own relationships, the world would be a better place. I deleted the message before sending it, then typed, just disappointed in how quickly people jump to conclusions. Expected better from friends. Then I left the group chat entirely. But it didn't stop there. My phone kept buzzing. Instagram DMs, Facebook messages, texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Everyone had an opinion about my behavior, and most of them weren't kind. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I posted on my Facebook. Some people really need to examine their own lives before passing judgment on others. Marriage is about trust, not control. Dancing with friends is not a crime. To those spreading rumors and gossip, do better. Within an hour, the post had dozens of comments. Most of them were not supportive. Miriam Price. This is heartbreaking to watch. Tasha Lynn. Dancing college friend. Amy. Girl, I saw the video. That wasn't dancing. Neighbor Janet. Think of your daughter. I started deleting the negative comments, but they kept coming faster than I could remove them. Finally, I deleted the entire post. My mother called around 3 p.m. Calantha, I just got off the phone with Miriam. She's very upset. Everyone's upset about nothing, Mum. It's ridiculous. Sweetheart, I saw the video. My stomach dropped. You what? Judith Harper from your father's work sent it to me. She thought I should know. My mother's voice was strained. Calantha, what were you thinking? I was thinking I was having fun with friends, I snapped. Since when is that illegal? It's not about legal, it's about appropriate. You're a married woman with a child. You have responsibilities. Don't lecture me about responsibilities. I work full-time, I take care of Ela, I manage the household. God forbid I have one night of fun. That's not what this is about, and you know it. Then what is it about, Mom? Because I'm getting really tired of everyone acting like I'm some kind of criminal. There was a long pause. It's about respect, Calantha. For your husband, for your marriage, for yourself. I hung up on her. By the time I got home, I was exhausted and furious. Adrian was in the kitchen helping Isla with her homework, and they both looked up when I walked in. Mommy! Isla ran over for a hug. Mrs. Peterson asked me if everything was okay at home today. She seemed worried. My blood ran cold. Isla's teacher had heard about this. What did you tell her, sweetheart? I said everything was fine, but... Isla looked between me and Adrian uncertainly. Is everything fine? You and Daddy seem sad. Everything's perfect, baby. I forced a smile, shooting Adrian a look that clearly said not in front of Isla. Mrs. Peterson was probably just being nice. But Adrian was frowning. Mrs. Peterson called you in? Isla nodded. She said sometimes when grown-ups are having problems, kids can feel worried, and that it's okay to talk about feelings. I felt like I was going to be sick. Even Isla's teacher knew. The gossip had spread that far, that fast. After Isla went to bed, I found Adrian in his home office, typing on his laptop. We need to talk, I said. He didn't look up. About what? About this insane overreaction everyone's having. About the fact that our daughter's teacher is apparently getting involved in our personal business. about how you're letting everyone think the worst of me instead of defending your wife. Adrian finally looked at me. Defend you how exactly? By telling people the truth, that nothing happened, that this is all being blown out of proportion, that we're fine. Are we fine, Calantha? The question hung between us. I wanted to say yes, wanted to insist that of course we were fine, but something in his expression stopped me. We could be, I said instead, if you'd stop feeding into everyone's drama. Adrian nodded slowly, then turned back to his laptop. I got a call from a lawyer today. My heart stopped. A lawyer? Just exploring options, making sure I understand my rights. Your rights? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Adrian, you're talking about lawyers over a stupid video of me dancing. I'm talking about lawyers because my wife was sexually inappropriate with another man in public. It was recorded, and now it's being shared around town while she pretends nothing happened. The words hit me like a slap. Sexually inappropriate? Are you insane? Am I? He turned to face me fully. Then explain to me what I'm seeing in that video, Calantha. Explain to me why Jesse's hands are where they are. Explain to me why you're pressed against him like that. Explain to me why you look like you're enjoying every second of it. We were dancing. That wasn't dancing. I stared at him, seeing a stranger. This cold, calculating man wasn't the Adrian I'd married. The Adrian I knew was gentle, understanding, willing to give me the benefit of the doubt. I can't believe you're doing this, I whispered. I can't believe you did that, he replied. As I left his office, I heard the soft sound of typing resume behind me. Whatever he was working on, he was documenting everything. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I began to realize that maybe, just maybe, I was in real trouble. The rest of the week was a nightmare. Every day brought new humiliations, new people who'd seen the video, new whispered conversations that stopped when I approached. I tried calling Jesse multiple times, but he wasn't answering. When I finally caught him at the gym, he was cold and distant. Cal, I think we should keep some distance for a while, he said, not meeting my eyes. Distance? Jesse, we're friends. We've been friends for years. Yeah, well, maybe that was a mistake. He glanced around nervously. Tasha's really upset, and honestly, I don't blame her. What happened at the club? It got out of hand. Nothing happened, I insisted, but even as I said it, I could feel the lie sitting heavy in my chest. Look, I'm sorry about your marriage troubles, but I can't get involved. Tasha's already talking about couples therapy because of this mess. He walked away, leaving me standing alone in the gym lobby, feeling more isolated than ever. That night, I found myself scrolling through social media, looking at pictures from that night at the club. In my memory, it had been innocent fun, but seeing the photos now, seeing the way Jesse and I looked together, the way we were touching, the way I was smiling at him, I could almost understand why people were making such a big deal about it. Almost, but it still wasn't cheating. It was just flirting. Harmless flirting between friends. Everyone flirted sometimes. It didn't mean anything. I decided to post something on Instagram, a carefully crafted message about friendship and trust. Real friends don't abandon you when gossips try to tear you down. Real marriages are built on communication, not assumptions. Grateful for the people who know my heart. The response was swift and brutal. Comment from Amy Collins, 122. Girl, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Comment from Tasha Lynn Fit. Some of us know exactly who you are. Comment from Miriam Price, 61. Praying for wisdom and healing. I deleted the post within an hour. By Friday, I was desperate. Adrian had barely spoken to me all week, sleeping in the guest room and communicating only about Isla's schedule. My sister Sabine was still supportive, but even she was starting to suggest that maybe I should smooth things over with Adrian. That's when I got the call from Miriam. Calantha, dear, I think we need to have a conversation. My mother-in-law's voice was crisp, formal. We'd never been particularly close, but she'd always been polite. This was different. About what, Miriam? About my son and my granddaughter and what's best for both of them. She wanted to meet for coffee. I agreed, hoping maybe I could win her over, get her to talk sense into Adrian. I was wrong. I'm going to be very direct with you, Miriam said as soon as we sat down. What you did was unacceptable. The way you've handled it since is even worse. Miriam, I understand you're upset, but I'm not upset, dear. I'm disappointed. There's a difference. She stirred her coffee slowly, deliberately. I watched you marry my son 7 years ago. I watched you promise to love, honor, and cherish him. I was there when Isla was born, when you both swore you'd put family first. I do put family first. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you put your own desires first, your own need for attention, for validation, for whatever it is you get from other men's hands on your body. The words were like a physical blow. It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? Miriam pulled out her phone, and I realized with horror that she was going to show me the video. Because this looks very much like a woman who's forgotten she's a wife and mother. I couldn't watch it again. Couldn't see myself through their eyes, pressed against Jesse, his hands roaming, my head thrown back in laughter that looked nothing like innocent fun. It was a mistake, I whispered. Yes, it was, and now the question is what you're going to do about it. I don't know what you want me to do. I can't take it back. You can take responsibility. You can stop making excuses. You can stop blaming everyone else for overreacting and start focusing on how to rebuild the trust you've broken. Adrian won't even talk to me. Can you blame him? Miriam's voice was gentler now, but still firm. Calantha, I've known my son for 35 years. He's not a jealous man. He's not controlling. He's hurt, deeply, profoundly hurt. And instead of acknowledging that, you've spent the week telling everyone who'll listen that he's the problem. I felt tears starting to form. I don't know how to fix this. Start with the truth. Stop calling it dancing. Stop calling it innocent. Stop pretending it was nothing. It was something and you know it. That weekend, Adrian packed a suitcase. Where are you going? I asked, watching him fold his clothes with mechanical precision. My brother's place, just for a few days. I need space to think. What about Isla? She'll stay here with you. I'll pick her up for school Monday morning. Adrian, please, can't we talk about this? He paused in his packing, looking at me with eyes that held no warmth. What would you like to talk about, Calantha? Because I've been waiting all week for you to tell me the truth, and all I've gotten are excuses and blame. I've told you the truth. No, you've told me your version of the truth, the version where you're the victim and everyone else is crazy, the version where what happened was innocent and I'm just insecure. He zipped up his suitcase and headed for the door. The version where my marriage is worth less than one night of attention from another man. After he left, I sat in our empty house and finally let myself cry. Really cry, for the first time since this whole mess started. Maybe Miriam was right. Maybe I had been making excuses. But even as I thought it, even as I tried to imagine taking full responsibility, a part of me still insisted that everyone was overreacting, that what happened with Jesse was just flirting, that Adrian was being too sensitive. That part of me was about to learn just how wrong I was. Adrian's lawyer's office was nothing like I'd expected. Instead of the dramatic courtroom setting I'd imagined from TV shows, it was a simple conference room with beige walls and fluorescent lighting. Adrian sat across from me next to a woman in her 50s who introduced herself as Patricia Chen. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Price, Patricia said, her voice professionally neutral. My client has asked for this meeting in hopes of reaching an amicable resolution. Resolution to what? I looked between them, my heart pounding. Adrian, what is this really about? Adrian opened a manila folder in front of him. It's about our marriage, Calantha, and whether we still have one. Patricia slid a document across the table. These are separation papers, temporary for now, but they outline custody arrangements for Isla and financial responsibilities while you both decide how to proceed. I stared at the papers without reading them. You're actually doing this? You're actually leaving me over one stupid night. It's not about one night, Adrian said quietly. It's about how you've handled everything since. It's about the lies, the manipulation, the complete refusal to take any responsibility. I haven't lied about anything. Patricia cleared her throat. Mrs. Price, I have to advise you that we have substantial documentation of the events in question, as well as your responses to them. Before we proceed, I want to give you one more opportunity to address this honestly. Documentation? I felt cold suddenly. What kind of documentation? Adrian reached into his folder again. This time he pulled out a thick stack of papers. Video evidence from the club, screenshots of your social media posts, transcripts of text messages. You went through my phone? I didn't have to. You posted most of it publicly. He slid the first page toward me. This is your Facebook post from Monday, where you accused me of being controlling and said marriage shouldn't be about watching every move. I remembered the post. It had seemed reasonable at the time. This, he continued, sliding another page over, is a screenshot of your group chat messages, where you called me psycho and said I was acting like you committed murder. My stomach dropped. How had he gotten those? Sabine forwarded them to my mother, Adrian said, reading my expression. She thought Miriam should know what you really thought about the situation. Sabine wouldn't do that. But even as I said it, I remembered how quiet my sister had been the last few days. She did. She said she was worried about Isla, and she thought maybe, if you saw how your words looked on paper, you'd realize how hurtful they were. Patricia slid another document across the table. These are witness statements, from other club patrons, from your co-workers, from parents at Isla's school who've expressed concern about the home environment. Concern about what home environment? I was getting angry now, feeling cornered. I'm a good mother. No one's questioning your love for Isla, Adrian said, but your judgment, your priorities, that's exactly what's being questioned. He pulled out his phone and set it on the table. Do you want to see the video, Calantha? The actual video, not the story you've been telling yourself? No. I think you should. I think you should see what everyone else sees when they look at it. I said no. Because you know, Patricia said gently, don't you? You know it wasn't innocent dancing. You know it crossed lines. You know it was inappropriate for a married woman. I felt tears starting, but I pushed them back. Even if it was inappropriate, even if I made a mistake, that doesn't mean our marriage has to end. People work through things like this all the time. You're right, Adrian said. They do. When both people are willing to acknowledge the problem and work on it. But you've spent 2 weeks gaslighting me, telling me I'm crazy, telling everyone who'll listen that I'm the problem. He pulled out another stack of papers. These are printouts of every conversation you've had about this situation. Every text where you called me paranoid. Every post where you played the victim. Every time you told someone I was overreacting instead of admitting you'd done something wrong. I stared at the evidence of my own words, feeling exposed and vulnerable. How did you get all of this? People started sending it to me, friends, family, co-workers. They were concerned about how you were portraying me, and they wanted me to know what you were saying. So you've been building a case against me this whole time. I've been protecting myself, Adrian said firmly, because I realized that the woman I married, the woman who would have been horrified by her own behavior and immediately apologized, doesn't exist anymore. The woman sitting across from me is someone who lies, manipulates, and blames everyone else for her choices. The words hit harder than a physical blow. That's not true. Isn't it? Patricia leaned forward. Mrs. Price, in the 2 weeks since this incident, have you once, even once, taken full responsibility for your actions without adding a but? I opened my mouth to respond, then closed it. Had I? Have you once apologized to your husband without also accusing him of overreacting? Again, I couldn't answer. Have you once put his feelings, his pain, his humiliation ahead of your own need to be right? The silence stretched between us. Finally, Adrian spoke. I love you, Calantha. I've loved you for 9 years, but I can't stay married to someone who cares more about winning an argument than saving our family. I do care about our family. Then prove it. He slid a pen across the table. Sign the separation papers. Give us both some space. Get some counseling. Figure out who you want to be. And maybe, if you can find your way back to the woman I married, we can try again. I stared at the papers, at the pen, at the man I'd promised to love forever. And if I don't sign, Patricia answered, then we file for divorce, with all of this evidence, with testimony from witnesses, with documentation of your behavior throughout this entire situation. The custody arrangement would be very different in that scenario, Adrian added quietly. I felt the walls closing in around me. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't how marriages ended. Not over one night, one mistake, one moment of poor judgment. But as I looked at Adrian's face, at the pain and disappointment and resignation in his eyes, I realized that maybe it wasn't about one night. Maybe it was about who I'd become, who I'd been becoming for longer than I wanted to admit. With shaking hands, I picked up the pen. 3 weeks later, I stood in our half-empty bedroom, watching Adrian pack the last of his things. The house felt hollow, stripped of warmth and laughter. Isla sat on the bed clutching her toy, asking why Daddy couldn't live here anymore. I had no good answer. Miriam helped with the move, kind despite everything. You can't fix this, she told me, but you can start by being honest. That night, after signing the custody papers, Adrian with primary care, me with weekends and Wednesdays, I finally stopped pretending. Even Sabine, my closest friend, had betrayed my confidence to save me from myself. When Isla's counselor called about playground gossip from the video, I realized how far the damage had spread. I phoned Adrian and told him the truth, about the dancing, the lies, the manipulation. I liked the attention, I admitted. You were right. We talked, not about forgiveness, but about Isla. When I hung up, I felt hollow yet lighter. Months later, the divorce was finalized. The shame lingered, but so did something new, clarity. I couldn't undo what I'd done, but I could rebuild from honesty. The woman who'd lied her way into ruin was gone. In her place stood someone learning, slowly, how to live with truth. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.